Right, let's get this fracturing finished up. So we've got the wood and the glass. Now I want to look at the this fiberglass. Okay, so another assemble here. Okay, and let's call this fiber, and then drop another IBD material fracture. And then I'm going to grab a piece here again. So grab that name attributes, then come here. Why isn't that working? Should be able to select these. Some kind of weird error. There we go. I wasn't selecting the assemble, I was there. So delete one of them, delete non-selected, plug that in here. Okay, so I'm going to leave this on concrete. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is come to this second level of fracturing, and then maybe give ourselves some more points. Okay, and then we've got a noise here, so that's, you know, where are we scattering those points. I'm going to make that bigger size, bigger scale in that noise. Okay, and then you come over to this detail, add edge detail here. And again, the scale, I'm going to change this to 1 and 1. So we get some more interesting shapes. Okay. And again, finally to the constraints and turn off that apply properties. Okay, so that's it for this. And then I'm going to drop ABD pack. Grab my main geometry, the constraints and the proxy geometry, and then finally we just I'm going to leave the concrete out. You can add it in, you could probably just do it with the fibers, kind of similar. I'm going to assemble the bits here. So these are mostly the tiles and then a couple of bits of wood for the stairs. So I'm going to call this all these bits. So we don't have any constraints with this, so let's make some. ABD constraints from rules I normally use. So I'll plug that in, and that by default you can see is connecting everything to everything basically. And we'll call these connectors. So the rest of them will be called, like that will be called concrete, wood, and glass. I think they'll have a name, a special group on them already. We don't need so many here, so I'm going to drop down the search points to 2, so they're not looking for so many places where it can make constraints. But that's fine, we don't have too many. You can double check, you know, the quantity here. You can see we got 4,000, which isn't a lot at all. Okay, so then we can pack this together. IBD pack. So grab the constraints into the middle. That's there. This isn't going to be making proxy geometry, right? So we'll just connect we can have the same geometry on both, which is fine. So we've got everything fractured there now. So maybe just to be neat, we can drop a null for each one. So this can be the glass. Okay. Next one will be the wood. You could also do this in your own geometry node as well, separate geometry nodes, if you like, but I prefer to have everything together. This is, what is this? Oh, I need to turn off, before I forget, turn off this blast. Just take a bit of time to go through the fracture. There we go. If we come here, well, I don't want to go down there. Let's plug that into there, and then we can see all of our pieces. But that looks fine. Okay, some big pieces down there, but that's okay. And finally, we have the bits, right? So alt click and drag on this. This is not wood. This is fiber, glass, and then this would be the bits and bobs, bits and pieces, right? So connect that up there. Okay, and then That looks fine. Merge these together. So you can just kind of do it like that. Select them all, plug them into the middle, and then cache this out. File cache. Okay, so obviously we just want the one frame, current frame, into our geometry folder. That's fine. And let's just call this, what are we? Let's call this nuke sim geo. Obviously, call it whatever you want. Save to disk and load from disk, and we don't need to obviously run through any of these fractures again now. If you do, then make sure you remember to come back and save this to disk. You know, any changes you make up above here, you'll have to come back here and save that again. That, you know, is an argument for saving these separately. You know, if these take a really long time and I want to make a change to one, then I have to basically run through all of them again, or I don't know, delete it here or something like that. But since they're not taking too long, I'm just doing it this way.